Hi, I'm James, a professional FPV and drone pilot from the UK, and I've worked in TV, film, advertising, where I've had the chance to work alongside major brands helping to bring their creative visions to life. So today we're going to look at the top 5 things that new drone pilots need to know, and with that there's a saying that I think hits home here. You don't know what you don't know, right? And hopefully the things I'm going to go through will help you fly smarter and safer. So this isn't just advice, it's the stuff that I wish I knew when I started out, and I've been through it all and I've learned some of these the hard way. So the first thing I want to look at is drone regulations, and I know that's super boring, but it's really important. So understanding and following drone regulations for the country you're flying in is so important. Every country will have their own drone laws and regulations, and these are ultimately designed to ensure the safety of both you, the drone operator, and the general public. So for example, flying close to airports or in heavily populated areas can pose serious risks. The next thing is privacy. So again, many countries will have laws to protect people's privacy, which can easily be infringed by drones capturing images or videos. For example, don't fly over people's gardens or up to people's house windows. That's just weird. Don't be that person. And bear in mind, if you're flying in built up areas such as towns or cities, some of the buildings may have private residences in them. And even if you're not intentionally filming into people's windows, you could be infringing on their privacy. So just be mindful. Then looking at airspace restrictions. So ultimately to prevent interference with manned aviation, which could lead to really dangerous situations, drone flights are often restricted or prohibited in certain areas. So stay well away from airports or airfields, military bases, and always check things like fly-safe maps or drone apps before taking off if you're unsure. There's also usually a cap on how high you can fly a drone, often 400 feet or 120 meters above ground level. And this is to avoid potential conflicts with manned aircraft. And it's really not a good idea to fly higher than 400 feet. And please, don't be one of these people that I see all the time on YouTube or Facebook and try to fly to the moon. Just don't be that person. And look, I know the rules aren't the most fun thing, but ultimately failing to adhere to these regulations can result in massive fines, confiscation of your drone, and even criminal charges in serious cases. So always prioritize safety, privacy, and legal compliance when flying your drone. So the next thing I want to talk about is automated flight features. So many drones now come with a bunch of automated flight features such as active track, point of interest, or follow me, etc, etc. And they're pretty cool, right? For a beginner, they make things super easily, especially to help you nail those cinematic shots. But have you ever noticed how sometimes right in the middle of what's looking like a great shot, the drone does this weird jerky movement and it really just ruins the shot? So here's where getting hands-on can make all the difference. So learning to fly manually, and it's not just about taking the training wheels off, it's about you being in full control. So when you fly manually, you can combine movements that you can't really do with automated flight, and by doing this, you can get some really interesting and dynamic shots. So while those automated modes are a great starting point, don't be afraid to experiment with manual flying, and trust me, it's a game changer. It adds your personal touch to every flight, making your shots stand out because they're 100% you. Plus, it's really satisfying to know that you've got the skills to handle your drone in any situation. So moving on from the last point, so the next key to capturing fantastic drone footage isn't just about the gear, it's how you use it. And smoothness and simplicity are your best friends here. So when you're starting out, resist the urge to cram every possible movement into every single shot. Instead, focus on mastering one movement at a time, whether that's flying straight forwards or backwards, or smoothly orbiting around an object. So these are the foundation of cinematic drone videography. Now, I know it's tempting to push your drone to its highest altitude and spin around, which I see a lot of beginners doing, and trying to capture everything at once, but trust me, that's what every beginner does, and often it leads to footage that just feels amateur. So instead, prioritize slow, deliberate movements. For example, when you choose to orbit an object, maintain a consistent speed and distance. This simplicity not only makes your footage more watchable, but also gives it a professional feel. Remember, cinematic drone flying is all about storytelling, so each shot should have a purpose and contribute to the narrative you're trying to build. So start simple and focus on getting those slow movements down. And gradually you'll develop a keen eye for the shot that truly captivates. So let's put those jerky, overcomplicated maneuvers aside and aim for footage that's just smooth as butter and just as satisfying. So the next thing, and I think probably one of the most important things, is looking at your camera settings. A critical piece of the puzzle is often overlooked by new drone pilots. So shooting in auto mode might seem like an easy shortcut, but it's a bit like trying to paint a masterpiece with a single color. You're just not giving yourself the full palette of options to truly capture the scene as you envision it. So ignoring things like white balance and not adhering to the 180-degree shutter rule are some of the common mistakes that I see beginners make. So understanding and setting your white balance is crucial for getting the colors in your footage to look natural. Auto white balance might work in principle, but it can also lead to inconsistent colors across your shots, especially if you're moving between different lighting conditions. And then we also need to consider the 180-degree shutter rule, which is an essential principle in cinematography that helps you achieve natural-looking motion blur, mirroring really what the human eye perceives movement-wise. So simply put, your shutter speed should be double your frame rate. So for example, if you're shooting in 24 frames a second, your shutter speed should be 1/48 of a second. And some drones might not have 1/48 of a second as an option, so just use 150th of a second, which is close enough. Diving into manual camera settings might seem daunting at first, but it's absolutely worth learning the fundamentals. Understanding how to manipulate your drone's camera settings gives you control over the visual tone and feel of your footage, allowing you to create more expressive and impactful videos. So take the time to experiment with manual settings, play around with different shutter speeds, ISO levels and white balances. And you'll quickly find that this knowledge not only improves your drone footage, but enhances your overall skill set as a videographer. So another important aspect to elevate your drone footage involves being mindful of when and where you shoot. So you might be tempted to just step outside and fly your drone whenever you have free time, but the truth is, not all hours of the day are equal in the eyes of videography. So the harsh light in the middle of the day can flatten your scenes, robbing your footage of depth and texture. That's why making the effort to catch the early morning light or waiting for the golden hour can truly transform your shots. So these times are often soft, diffused light, which adds warmth and dimension to your footage, highlighting features in the landscape and creating stunning cinematic visuals. It might mean setting an alarm to wake up before the sun comes up or planning your day around the evening light, but the results are well worth it. Sunrise provides a calm, serene setting that's hard to match, whilst the golden hour just after sunrise or before sunset casts a golden hue that filmmakers and photographers dream of. So don't settle for the convenience of midday shoots, so seek out those ideal lighting conditions that really makes your footage stand out. It's a simple adjustment to your schedule that can have a profound impact on the quality of your videos. So hopefully you found this video useful, and remembering to master drone videography is as much about understanding what not to do as it is about honing your skills in what you should do. From steering clear of over-reliance on automated flight modes to respecting the nuances of drone camera settings, each point we covered is a step towards transforming your drone footage from good to amazing. Embrace early mornings or late afternoons to capture the golden light, and remember, the weather isn't your enemy but an element to use creatively. The journey to becoming a skilled drone pilot is filled with learning and discovery, and it's your persistence and your willingness to experiment that will set your footage apart. So take these tips, head out there and start creating, and remember, every flight is an opportunity to improve, to capture something unique, and to tell a story that only you can tell. I'm really excited to see where your drone takes you and the incredible visuals you'll create. And until next time, keep flying high and shooting spectacularly. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more tips and tutorials, and fly safe, and we'll see you in the next video.